this panel, we turn to scientific research and innovation. Our company, Positivo BGH, has invested in establishing the first major laptop, tablet, and smartphone factory in Africa. For us, and for more industry investors to follow their needs, to be a consistent upsurge in research and innovation in Africa. Recent indicators show that sub-Saharan Africa accounts for less than 1% of the world's research output, despite having 12% of the world's population. So, what can be done to strengthen intra-African collaboration in research, and how are governments prioritizing science, technology, and innovation? So, Minister Itoua, as mentioned in my introduction, intra-African collaboration is key to having a successful research community. Have you signed partnerships, or do you have any potential agreements in the pipeline to formalize scientific and research collaboration with other African countries, and also to promote collaboration between the Marien Wavi University and other universities or research institutes on the continent?
Thank you, Chair. Let me just start by taking the opportunity to join my voice to the others. Previously, to thank Uganda government and organizers. Uganda government for the warm hospitality and everything they're doing to let our stay here be really nice, and I really enjoyed this African country. And thanks for organizers for this conference. I know this is not the only one we have. We have many other gatherings around innovation issues, but one more is still useful. After saying that, please, Chair, allow me to go back to French, which is my official language, and I will do my comments and remarks in French. Avant de répondre à la question, je voudrais d'abord très clairement, et j'aime à le dire, que l'Afrique, tout le monde en convient, est probablement la prochaine frontière, peut-être le prochain moteur du développement mondial. Tout s'y prête.
All is ready for Africa to come out of a situation of produce of natural resources to become really an important economic actor, not only because of its potential human resources, but also because many needs which exist in Africa bring out opportunities for investment and opportunities for economic progress. Africa, within 25 or 30 years, will have more people than China. So it will with the middle class which will be coming up, which will have come up with a young population, better educated, and therefore good as a development actor, but also for innovation. Having said this, I want to say the second thing. All the African countries have become emerging countries, and many are convinced that we are going to reach there. So Africa tomorrow can become a really emerging continent. And here I would like to say that there will be no emergence, there will be no emerging countries without innovation. If there's no innovation, there will be no innovation without technology, and there's no technology without scientific research. And there is no innovation and technology and quality scientific research without quality education to have human resources, quality human resources. So Africa is aware of this. In 2007, during a summit of heads of state and government, African countries had decided to devote at least 1% of their GDP to science and technology and innovation. Some have gone beyond that, others are about 1%. Too many are below because of all the other obligations that they have. But they have taken note of that. 2 years ago, Africa adopted a strategy for science and technology innovation for the next 10 years. This strategy was approved by heads of state. Africa is organizing itself better and better. Now I'm the chair of the ministers African Ministers Conference of Science and Technology, and there will be it will be a specialist committee of the African Union for Science, Technology and Innovation. We have an African Academy of Sciences which is working very well. We have an African Observatory for Science, Technology and Innovation. We have got the major project of the Pan-African University, which will not really be a university, but a totality of universities. And there will be universities which will become centers of excellence, and they will make a part of this, be part of this university. So there will be this general communication between African countries, between scientists, between those who are in technology and innovation. So the people are aware of this now. Having said this, it's clear that there is some work to do. I think that Africa, country by country and overall, and must put scientific research and innovation at the center of their concerns. Let me give an example. Africa is doing a lot in infrastructure, roads, ports, electricity, telecommunication, water, sanitation. But I'm appealing in my country and in Africa that research laboratories become also basic infrastructure. They should be given the same priority, if not more, than roads or energy. Of course, we need energy for that, but we can find the solutions which are adopted where we can build the laboratories, because it's in the laboratories that we train the students, it's in the laboratories that we prepare students to be future actors of industry, which is and for the future. So it's in the laboratories that we do research. The laboratories must be integrated in the priorities of investment in Africa. And I hope that this message, that the investment banks like ADB and so on, and those emerging countries, they should integrate clearly these laboratories as one of the major priorities. So I will stop there for the moment. We can continue later on during the second question. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Merci beaucoup. Mr. Chemane, this year the World Bank proposed to provide an additional grant in the amount of $45 million to Mozambique for the higher education, science and technology project. Can you give us an update on the status of this and how the money will be spent to enhance the development of technology and scientific research in Mozambique?
Good morning. I'd just like to start by saying, just to say that joining other ministers in thanking all the organizers of this event and the government of Uganda for their hospitality and for welcoming us to this country. Secondly, I'd like to, on behalf of the Ministry of Science and Technology in Mozambique, on behalf of the Minister, I will pass his apology for not being able to be here today because he had urgent issues to deal with in Mozambique. And so I'm representing the ministry, and I'm going to give some information concerning this in response to this question. But first of all, I'd like to start by saying that just to talk about it, before the project, the government of Mozambique has a strategy to be able to improve higher education. And one of the things that we're doing in this strategy, first of all, we have a financing strategy for higher education. We have a budgeting strategy so to identify the, first of all, needs that we do have, and financing of agencies, multilateral agencies. We do have agreements, and we also have private partnerships that exist to finance activities that have to do with the higher education. This project with World Bank is one of the strategies that we do have for financing. It's one of the multilateral partnerships that we do have in our country, and so we have different phases in my country. Now, talking about this partnerships, this is a project that was created in order to respond to the current challenges that we've had faced in the higher education arena. And our country has made a very quantitative leap in higher education, and right now we do have at least 49 institutions and institutions of higher education, and 18 of them are in the public sector, and the rest are in the private sector. So the biggest challenge that we do have is to assure quality of learning, and to be able to offer technical skills, especially in the science and technology areas and natural sciences. We need labs of quality so that students can be able to learn very well. That is one of the most important components. And on the ministry level, we have created a mechanism to monitor the performance of these institutions of higher learning so that we can ensure quality. And secondly, the second component of this project has to do with the support that the government of Mozambique offers to the different players in higher education, and the government supports all the players who are involved through financing, and especially in research. The government is very involved, and when responding to this issue about the funding from the World Bank, the government will use these funds to make our institutions more competitive, and to be able to have concrete research projects, and so that we can be able to improve our social well-being of our country. And the third component has to do with the funds for institutional development, and so especially in the private sector, we have challenges that have to do with institutional capacity, and so the funds that are being allocated help to create conditions that would be able to allow us to be able to offer better quality learning in our institutions, and especially in the areas of sciences and areas of technology. Another fundamental component has to do with the management and establishment of the mechanism through which we collect information on the performance of these higher institution centers of higher institution. And so we have an information systems, and we are improving this information system so that we can be able to measure our performance in the higher education. Another component that's very important. We also recognize that mostly we have several institutions that are institutions of specialized learning, and we have to be able to provide scholarships, and especially for young people to be able to create an incentive for young Mozambicans, and especially on the master's and doctorate levels. And we are currently facing this as a challenge so that we can be able to get as many young people to be able to take advantage of these learning possibilities. And so talking on a technological level, we are also trying to create a network connecting different institutions so that you can have a improved communication between these institutions of higher learning. And that, I would say, more or less, these are the different components that I'd like to share as far as the financing of and the operations of the higher institutions for higher learning is concerned in Mozambique. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Tamajong, at last year Innovation Africa, you say that we in Cameroon are slow in responding to gender equality. This is surely something you want to address urgently, given that represents half of your economic and scientific potential. Are you now actively pursuing policies for more women to participate in scientific research in Cameroon? For example, I gather you have created a consortium of women scientists.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. Is it okay now? Before I start, I would like to express our appreciation to the government of Uganda through the Minister of Education for the wonderful reception and the warm welcome that they gave us. and to bring Africa, for bringing us to share our experiences and knowledge. You know, education is a lifelong process that we learn until the day we enter our graves. So thank you, and apologies from my minister, Dr. Madeleine Chuente, for not being here because she's been taken up by other duties, but she sends great things. Thank you very much. Now, going back to the issue of gender, as my colleague mentioned earlier, there's this strategic document by the government for growth, and a lot of emphasis are being laid on the promotion of gender, equality of gender in scientific research. And the government, in order to substantiate this, in 2012, they recruited 25,000 researchers, and they sent 200 to our ministry, and out of the 200, we had 98 who are women. So already the government has started putting more emphasis. But the problem is not only recruiting them, but when you recruit them, as scientists, how do you stay in the job? How do you climb the ladder to be senior researchers? So my minister has put in place a policy whereby those who have been recruited with a master's degree level, have been able to further their education, finish their PhD programs with scholarships through the negotiation of Dr. Madeleine Chuente. She has partnership with the British government through the Chemane program, facilitated by the British High Commissioner, the French Development Program, Agence Française Développement, with the Japanese embassy, and all the embassies, because as you rightly know, the Ministry of Scientific Research is made up of 7 institutes, different specialization. And then when they finish, they have the scholarships, they come back, they have constant training in research methodology, scientific writing, and from there, they climb up. And I also like to know that through this Higher Women Consortium that took place, women who are advanced research and women who are directors in research, they help to bring up the young ones, and we help to bring up the young women in their careers, so that they know that we are there to help them. We pull them up as we are growing up, and then we teach them leadership methodology, leadership skills, research methodology, scientific writing, and also management. And I would also like you to know that through the Ministry of Women's and Promotion of the Family and Empowerment, a lot has been done, to bring up women as role model. And I would like you to know it's always difficult. There's a saying that the enemy of a woman is a woman, but that myth has been discarded. In my ministry, I would like you to know that the minister is a woman, the Secretary General is a woman, the inspector is a woman. Then we have 4 directors of central administration, and in the institutes, the big institute, you have 2 directors who are managing those institutes, and they're all women. Then in the regional delegation of the Ministry of Scientific Research and Innovation, you have 3 women who are delegates, regional delegates. And so you see again, women are being promoted based on competence, not just being put there because you are a woman. And the president is doing a lot, to make sure they promote the education of women in the sciences. You have the African Institute of Mathematical Science, which has been launched in Cameroon, in Limbe. You have a lot of girls there who are now taking up mathematical sciences. And then we, in anything you have role models. And when you have a role model as a woman, through the open day policies that we have, we bring in girls from secondary schools, from the high schools, and then, they talk to us. They ask us, what does it take to be a researcher? What does it take to be a scientist? And then, that plays a lot of impact on them, and we actually talk to them and we encourage them. And to facilitate their work, you cannot just work in research without using the new information and communication technology. So there's a training that goes on, every year. And now in the policy of the government, there's this policy, one laptop per researcher. And that is where, strength really comes in. And the government is doing a lot now to make sure that we have this equipment, and we'll maybe later on I'll emphasize what is meant by putting on more ICT equipment through the transfer of technology. So the government is doing a lot, and then we have more women in research.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you very much. And I can tell you that in our factory, the most efficient ones are the ladies. So, Professor Khemaies, to advance the development of scientific research requires attracting foreign direct investment. So what is your ministry doing to attract multinational corporations and support their R&D centers by providing human skills which ultimately enhance the learning process of domestic scientists and engineers?
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, let me express my deep thanks to the government of Uganda for the invitation. I also would like to congratulate AfricanBrains for the success of this event. About FDA and competitiveness based on innovation, let me recall that Tunisia allocates nearly 1.2% of its GDP to research and innovation. Tunisia also occupies the forefront position in Africa in terms of scientific publication per capita. We are co-financing joint research projects with many countries, for example, with Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, South Africa, France, Portugal, Germany, India, South Korea, Turkey, and so on. We are also encouraging the creation of joint labs and around strategic items. Many students are preparing their PhD thesis alternately between Tunisia and European or Asian universities with a double supervision and a double diploma. Our diaspora is playing a key role in this context. Tunisian researcher teams are very active in the field of research projects funded by European Union in the framework of H2020 program that enhances multilateral cooperation between North and South. Tunisia has acquired this year the status of associated country to the H2020 program, becoming the second country in the South after Israel to get this status with European Union. This status allows Tunisia to access to a wide range of European projects in the field of innovation within the program H2020. We can also, with this status, coordinate these projects. In addition, we have launched an ambitious program of science and technology parks in strategic fields as water, energy, ICT, health and biotechnology, mechatronics, textile, and so on. These science and technology parks are achieved in the framework of multilateral and bilateral cooperation with European country and with Asian country. Foreign innovative companies benefit from many incentives to be installed within these science and technology parks to achieve research and innovation with all the components of these technoparks, mainly research centers, high institutes, and incubators, and so on. We are also working in matter of industrial property and platform creation to secure investors and help them to upgrade their products. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abraham, strategically, the Ethiopian Ministry of Science and Technology has put more emphasis on building innovation system, technology transfer, and human resource development. With about 3.5% of GDP spent on science and technology, what are you doing to create a conducive environment to attract private investment in the science and technology industries, and to have persuasive policies to bring global multinationals to Ethiopia?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I will also join my fellow panelists in thanking the government of Uganda for hosting us here, and also the Africa Innovate for giving us this opportunity. I also want to convey apologies from Her Excellency the Minister of Ministry of Science and Technology for not coming to this conference. Actually, in Ethiopia, higher officials are these days busy with forming a new government, which will be declared this week. So probably the absence of other officials is also related to that. Thank you very much for all this. Coming to the question, it is true that Ethiopia is actually investing in science and technology. Actually, I'm not, I can't confirm the figure, which I was told to be from the World Bank, the 3.5%. But anyway, Ethiopia has given a lot of emphasis in investing in science and technology. The way it functions in Ethiopia is that we have a national science, technology, and innovation policy, which is actually guided by the National Science, Technology, and Innovation Council, led by the Deputy Prime Minister, for which the Ministry of Science and Technology is a secretariat. And then actually, regarding ICT and other technologies, many ministries are actually part of that council, including Ministry of Information and Communication, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Education, Agriculture, and the likes. So, for example, if I take this fiscal year, Ethiopian fiscal year, about 24.5% of the federal budget is in education. And this is because of actually higher education, which we are building and which are upgrading others in technology areas, including ICT. So Ethiopia is really heavily investing, but at the same time, Ethiopia also believes very much that ICT is a key technology for the social and the economic development, and as such, it really encourages foreign investment. And for this, actually, Ethiopia has actually given a lot of incentives in technology areas, including ICT, ICT actually being one of the major ones. For example, investors in Ethiopia, especially foreign investors, have 100% exemption of custom duties if they invest in Ethiopia, especially for capital goods. And similarly, they are exempted for spare parts for up to 15% of the capital goods if they invest in Ethiopia. And they also have income tax exemption for 4 to 5 years. And actually, there is no actual export tax. So you can see that Ethiopia is actually working hard to attract investors. And the other comparative advantage Ethiopia has is, of course, we are
a big country with the second most populous country in Africa, with over 94 million, and with increasingly, actually, steadily increasing consumption capacity. So this is really a huge market. And Ethiopia also established a number of actually industry parks. Has established, for example, ICT park in the outskirts of Addis, just to encourage this investment. So there are really a lot of opportunities Ethiopia is creating, and the principle is that Ethiopia is looking to work together with private investors, be it foreign or local. But until that time, of course, it has to keep the work going using its own resources as a government. So these are the kind of things which I could comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Great input. Dr. Tamajong, again, let's balance between ladies and men. Sorry. I think you would agree that bandwidth is critical importance to sharing scientific research and accordingly leading to industrial innovation. Again, in Cameroon, this is another area that needs tackling so that you have the capacity. Are you now investing more in IIT equipment and expanding your fiber optic network to give the multitude of institutes and laboratories the capacity to succeed?
Come again.
So, in Cameroon, there is another area that needs tackling so that we have the capacity of bandwidth, connectivity. So we would like to understand if what Cameroon is doing about investment on IT equipment and expanding the fiber optic network to give the multitude of institutes and laboratories the capacity to succeed.
As far as investing in ICT is concerned, the government has an open door policy whereby it deals, with ICT companies, that can come to Cameroon and invest. First of all, let me go back to the ministry that is responsible for fiber optic, or to make sure that there's a maximum coverage of the country with fiber optic, and also facilitate the connectivity of the various corporations and the localities. You have the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication. Right now, under the government's policy, the 10 regions, are being connected. Pipes are being placed, the cables of fiber optic, to make sure that they facilitate the connectivity of internet to other servers. And you see the government is working with companies such as Orange Cameroon, MTN, Nestel, and then also with the Chinese, the Japanese, and also the Koreans to facilitate this work. And there's also the creation of the Center of Excellence for Scientific and Technological Transformation, of which the government is putting in place. Already the president has signed a presidential decree creating that, and has put aside, allocated 25 hectares of land. And what is the really importance of this thing? Because the government wants to move away from just being the consumers of ICT products or equipment. They want to also see how we can produce it, the transfer of knowledge, transfer of technology. So with this center in French is called IPSIT, and in English is the Center of Excellence, I told you, to encourage creativity, from the young entrepreneurs. And then to also act as an incubation center, where you have the young people, they come, young inventors, they come there, and then the inventors can come in, and then you now choose, which area you want to work with and how you want to, invest your money. And So, that's how the government is also encouraging cities, because you can imagine, just from my ministry alone, we spent more than $20,000 a year just for buying laptops and buying this. So the government now sees, no, instead of spending this money just to buy, why can't we now get companies, I was so impressed when I saw the contract between Positivo and the Rwandan government. And those are the things that the government, is trying to encourage, so that you come right there, you invest, you teach the people, and then you transfer the knowledge to them, and the knowledge transfer, but how can it be sustainable, sustainability? And that's what the government is doing. And you have a very conducive investment policies, because if you are coming to invest in Cameroon, you must know the Cameroon investment code, you have the OHADA law, and then if you are investing also in the extraction of minerals, you have CAPAM. Then you have the protection of the investor, which you have the international investment protection laws. So the government is doing a lot to make sure that the ICTs are put in place, and also training. You have a lot of training that is being taken place now, and various institutes, and various NGOs. Our youths are very, very fast. As I posed the question on the 30th, what are the challenges? What are these companies doing to make sure that they help those fast learners? We call them genius, who can break the computer now, scatter it, and rebuild, but still they've not yet reached the level of Positivo. So how can you come in and help? And that's what the government is doing. There's a policy for that. And I also have some websites. Maybe after this meeting, during the round table with companies, you can come around, see me. I'll give you the websites of CAPAM, the website of ITI, the website of CHICAM, the website of the Chambers of Commerce, Mining, Industry, and Handicraft. And so, there's a lot that we are still doing. It's a virgin land, but very determined.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Minister, you have been working closely with the UNESCO to enhance the research and innovation in your country. In doing so, you have said yourself that capacity building in STI is paramount. Can you summarize the national STI policy and the investments of your government has made to increase scientific research and innovation capacity in the in the Congo?
Merci. Vous permettrez que,
Thank you.
avant de parler du Congo,
Before speaking about Congo, I want to talk about the Central African area and to see what happens practically, to understand the context in Congo, which I hope Congo will be a good example. But it's important to talk about certain things related. Sub-Saharan Africa contributes 2.3% to the international PIB, but 0.4% of these resources are used for development. And if you look at the world population, we have 1% of these researchers on the planet, so we have very few scientific researchers. And yet in the industrial countries, we have between 20 and 50 per 1,000 inhabitants. So that we need to look at the link between resources used for research and the level of development. But we should also look at a level of access for the young people. There is a direct link. Coming back to Africa, each one of us, we talk a lot amongst ourselves, but first of all, it's important to clarify the concepts. We're talking about scientific innovation, research and technology. Sometimes talk about research, technology and innovation, but we need to clarify research. Which is research should be the first contributor to innovation, and we need growth and development and transformation of the society. So it's important to clarify the links between all these. And as far as Congo is concerned, we have chosen that most of our research should be dedicated towards development, improving the lives of the people, and creation of jobs for the young people. It's important to clarify how these two things work together. It's important to define the vision. What have we done for Congo? The vision is to emerge, and one of the most important tools, resources, is research, and using this to provide quality education. And then, basing on this vision, we are trying to reorganize the education sector so that it reflects the vision. Research should be used for development and improving the living conditions of the people. Within our vision of 2025, we have two agencies promoting research and two other institutions dedicated to other projects, and I'm not going to enter into details. But this strategy and institutional reorganization is being done with the help of UNESCO and with other countries. Try to come up with some standards, and this will also apply to other African countries. Within this strategy or restructuring or reorganization is to have innovation. What is innovation? What is invention? How can one structure innovation? How can the state help this innovation? We should not, innovation should really bring about change, and the first priority is we should benefit from research and creativity, because innovation is the link between research and development, and the link between research and benefiting the population, and the link between creativity and providing services that are needed by the country. So innovation must be defined clearly so the continent does not remain poor. Research and innovation should be within a favorable environment. It should base on modern ICTs. Quality research and quality innovation should be based on an important information system, and we are going to invest in such infrastructures so that our country should be among the very best in West Africa. We're trying to also construct the national backbone for the optic fiber. My ministry is committed to that. We are trying to see that at least 10,000 inhabitants are connected to the optic fiber cable. We're also connected to satellite so that our people can be connected to high-speed internet that is not so costly. And I don't know how research can be done without internet connectivity and without modern ICT tools, and even the other actors within higher education. And finally, it is the theme addressed by the panel. The funding of investments is a problem. Remember that we should have more efforts. We should think as Africans, how can we fund research and innovations? And how can we involve the private sector? How can we use budgeting and taxation systems? How can we mobilize the international community to build a knowledge economy in Africa? And I know that's what we're trying to do in Congo. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. In the same line,
Professor Khemaies.
The Tunisian government is now putting more emphasis on scientific research and innovation. Can you tell us what you are doing to develop an educational system centered on scientific foundations to produce knowledge entrepreneurs, better teaching and developing science and engineering at the higher education level?
Thank you. Tunisia is now undertaking a re-engineering process of its educational and innovation system in order to meet current challenges in matter of capacity building, quality, employability, and innovation. In this context, a reform project was elaborated by an ad hoc commission and subjected now to a national debate involving all the stakeholders, private and public sector and civil society as well. The main objective of these reforms are the promotion of the quality in matter of research and innovation, better higher education system, encouraging the entrepreneurial spirit in the students' mindset, and in fine, improve the employability of higher education graduates. It's worth to remind that the yearly flow of higher education graduates, which is about 65,000, is much higher than the need of the national market. Tunisia has no problem with high-level human resources. We have an excess of human resources, mainly in biotechnology. We have 500 doctors unemployed in biotechnology. So, it's also I would like to remind that the unemployment of higher education graduates was the detonator and the catalyst of the Tunisian uprising. So this problem is critical. And to cope with these issues, we introduce courses on entrepreneurship in almost all fields of study in the university. More than 42 business incubators and many business centers were set up and spread all over the country. Involvement of professionals in curricula, elaboration and training is highly encouraged. The last semester of the study is devoted to an internship within companies for a practical project. A great emphasis is given to communication in ICT. The government also has set up a battery of financial mechanisms in coaching to encourage students to create their own, student and researchers to create their own startups and spin-offs. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Abraham, In Ethiopia, if Ethiopia wishes to make such advances in science, technology, and innovation, then the importance of scientific and ICT equipment needs to be given due attention. Is your ministry implementing new policies for the procurement of ICTs and scientific equipment and making sure you have the technical capability to specify and select the best and most appropriate technology service provider?
Thank you again. Regarding the procurement, actually Ethiopia has public procurement proclamations when it goes to actually government institutions, whereby certain procedures have to be followed. Of course, that definitely does not apply to the private sector. Private sector procures just the way it likes. But the procedure actually, I think it should be similar to some extent also in other countries, because it's just actually to enhance transparency, accountability, and the kind of actually reduce also corruption. So such procedure is being followed, but that one is relatively slow. Of course, it takes a few months to get scientific human procurement, but we have, of course, to observe that one. And regarding the actual assets, that does not apply to private investors, and that's how it should go. We have what's called a public procurement agency. So if there are special circumstances whereby you need actually fast procurement or specific procurement from certain providers, you can also have permission with justification, special justification. So I don't think that's actually a very big issue, and I suspect also other countries also follow these things. Regarding the specifications and actually information, selection of equipment, I think Ethiopia generally has a capacity to do that because we have, especially we have a very robust research system, especially in agriculture. We have about 56 research centers throughout the country, and it is about 50 years old, and we have also universities which do that one. That can be actually done actually well, but in specific case where we need actually help, we can also work with regional or international partners, and we can also hire also consultants from abroad. So the procurement procedure is actually a question of balancing what I mean, accountability and transparency, and also the need to make it faster. So it's relatively slow, but I think I know many African countries and also even Asian countries outside Europe where the procurement procedures are relatively slow. But that does not actually hamper the development of ICT and other technology in the country, and specifically doesn't apply to private investors. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you all of you to share your inputs. Finally, I would like to share with you that last year at Innovation on Africa in Rwanda, we announced the partnership with the government of Rwanda, and that we were going to bring the industry to the region. Since last July, we have already produced and delivered more than 30,000 units. You can see a sample of those in our booth. I heard during the discussion that innovation is coming from outside. It's time to change it. We have already started. We will show this in the following video. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
What I like most about my job is that every day is a new challenge.
The feeling that is very important to Rwandans and Africans.
It has given me the opportunity to work in the field I studied in with real experience.
No matter how well you did it the day before, you start from scratch the next day.
Being the company that brings the technology to my country.
Building a bright future for Rwandans.
It's easy and fast access to technology to Rwandans.
We didn't have to import computer and phones.
In the short term, to deliver every single that we have committed for this first stage of the project, and of course to expand the operation very fast to the rest of the East African community. In the long term, become the first choice of Africans. That means building millions of units per year.
Future,
Commitment,
technology
Is incomparable.